Hi, this is Paul from Model Builder International. New website, mbi.hobbylinkinternational.com. You can access the whole family of websites from there using the menu at the top. Today we're going to have a look through a brand new book from Nuts and Bolts. This is volume 41 on, I'll have to read this, Bussing's schwere Wehrmachtsclepper, armoured and unarmoured variants. The schwere Wehrmachtsclepper, or heavy military tractor, usually abbreviated to SWS, was a German World War II half-track vehicle used in various roles between 1943 and 1945. The unarmoured models were used as supply vehicles and as tractors to haul artillery. Armoured versions mounted anti-aircraft guns or 10-barrel rocket launcher. Less than 1,000 were built before the end of the war, but production did continue after the war of an improved model in the Tatra plant in Czechoslovakia. In May 1942, the development of a simple low-speed half-track load-carrying vehicle for use on the Eastern Front was ordered. Bussing MAG was selected to develop the new 5-ton tractor to replace the earlier 5-ton SDKFZ6 and the 3-ton SDKFZ11, as well as the various lesser-known vehicles of the same class. Production started December 1943. Early examples had a truck-like unarmoured cabin, similar to earlier half-tracks it replaced, and later examples had the armoured cabin and engine compartment. The suspension system was 5 double road wheels per side, overlapping and interleaved, one idler wheel at the back. The book itself has a soft cover, German and English text. The English is flawless. Just over 180 pages, 268 photos in total, 91 contemporary photographs from manuals from before 1945. 119 colour photos of walk-around vehicles in museums and so on, and 58 photographs of models. There's also 18 camouflage schemes, tactical markings, table of organisations, and a whole slew of 1/35th scale line drawings. Okay, so let's have a look inside the book, see what we get. Nuts and Bolts, volume 41, by Hannah Dusker, Tony Greenland, Detlev Turlisten. This one's on Bussing's schwere Wehrmachtsclepper, usually abbreviated to SWS, both the armoured and the unarmoured variants, and I think most of this work was done by Dr. Nicholas Hetler. So, we've gone through a quick overview of the SWS. Basically, SWS translates as Heavy Armed Forces Tractor, so it would be something like heavy military tractor in English. And that's basically what it was. So we start off with some early shots of a build of the Great Wall Hobby 1/35th kit. Then into table of contents, which goes through pretty much everything you'll ever need to know about this, and it's awesome if you're building a kit of this. Start off with the introduction. Basically, it was here to, should we say, reduce the number of towing vehicles that were used by the German Armed Forces. They had the SDKFZs 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 11s and 10s, and they're trying to sort of reduce it down a bit. And they sort of shorten it down. You can see here the list of what they were planning on introducing, but it didn't all sort of come to fruition. Started development basically 43, prototypes in December 1943. And there's black and white photos throughout. These are the small ones, but there's a whole heap more later. Going through the whole development of thing, changes from the pre-series to the production, technical description. That's of both the unarmoured and the armoured versions. A lot of this, the tracks were really simple. They weren't designed for fast speed. That's, should we say, one of the criticisms, well, probably just about the only one really of the SWS was it wasn't very fast. It could meet all its other requirements, but it was going nowhere quickly with what it was dragging behind it as well. But going nowhere quickly meant you could simplify the tracks, you could simplify a lot of things. Front axles and wheels, clutch, transmission, gearbox, breaks an electrical system, cable winches, bodies, all the information is here. Technical information, weights, things like that, engine types, the engine that was used, also post-war in Czechoslovakia, because they were built there, they continued building, or briefly they made some prototype versions which unfortunately didn't get built either. So we come through versions on the weapon systems. You can see them with 37mm flak 43-1, 150mm rocket launchers, ammunition carrier. There was plans to put an infrared lamp on the top, like you can see here, one on STKZ 251. There was plans to put that on the top of an armoured SWS as well. It may have happened, but there's no photographic evidence to back that up. The same goes for flak feeling. I think they said there's photographic evidence, but nobody can find any documentation to say anything about it. It might have just been a field modification. Production and manufacturers, where they were all made, different serial numbers made from which factories. There's pictures of the 3 factories on here actually of where they're made, and what was made at each one. There was a lot of manufacture of sub-assemblies and then assembly at one place. Allied bombing raids were having an effect as well. They would run out of subcomponents at various times, run out of raw materials. That's why some of them, there's some damage from a bombing raid in one of the factories. Production of components, producing frames and winches, ancillary industry, that's talking about the subcomponents, spare parts and repairs. It was designed for easy maintenance, planning versus actual production. As you'd expect, there was a big difference there. And there was nowhere near as many produced as they actually wanted to produce. Yeah, here's the the ones that were made in Czechoslovakia after the war, the prototypes. And SWS in service. Basically it's used obviously mostly by the Army. The Air Force had a few, and I think the Navy even had one as well. And they were given, usually obviously to artillery, anti-tank units, engineering units, and it gives descriptions here of what sort of thing you could normally see them towing. So if you're building a diorama, you know what you can put, what you can sort of reasonably hang on the back of it. And here's an artillery battery with field howitzer. There's one on the back of it. Usually the 15cm, 10cm Pak 43, which was an awesome anti-tank gun, but it was big and heavy, and you needed something with some good pulling power to move it, but it was an absolutely awesome weapon. And information about, quite a bit of information about the use of that and towing of it. And this is a unit organisation for a flak battery, and there's one for the 15cm Panzerwerfer, camouflage and markings, modelling. Here's a big list of all the models that are available, and the should say the aftermarket sets that are available, manufacturers. Reading this, the best ones to go for or the most recent ones seem to be the Great Wall Hobby ones, and some bills of those, acknowledgements, bibliography, 25 primary information sources used, and then we get on to the photographs, black and white photographs, contemporary of the SWS. Here's the trial vehicles, and there's little differences between them all. And here on, they were trying them out, see how they behave in snow. There's like a type of snow plough there that helps them get through deep snow. Pak 43. And in use, some destroyed ones, camouflage patterns. A series here of an SWS pulling another SWS. The one captured by the Americans post-war in Berlin. Here's the armoured SWS, that's the prototype. And armoured SWSs with things, dragging things around. So look at the Wehrmacht version, interiors. Another one of the infrared searchlights that was planned to be used, but nobody's too sure if it actually made it. The Czech versions after the war. Some photographs of those. And then these highlight the changes from the prototype to the production. A whole heap of 1/35th scale line drawings of pretty much all the different versions. Here's the armoured version. Ammunition carriers. Here's one with a flak feeling 38, 37mm, 37mm. So basically, whatever version you're building, there's a set of line drawings here to help make sure you get all the bits and pieces in the right place. Here's an SWS of an unknown Unit 1944, basically the colour profiles, using black and white photographs and then interpreting them into colour. There's a whole heap of those, all camouflaged, different types, an American, one captured by the Allies. And then into vehicles that are still around in museums. I think this one's actually still running. It tells you here where they all are. There's one running, two in museums, and a couple of running gear ones, just the chassis. But you get lots of close photographs. Believe it or not, actually underneath that is an SWS. And they took all I think this is in a quarry. You took it all off. That's an SWS chassis underneath it all. So there's all sorts of close-up photographs under places, in places where you wouldn't normally see. So there's a whole heap of photographs there, so you can see exactly how things look. So you can make sure even down to getting the wiring in the right places. This type of wheel was introduced later because it saved on use of raw materials. As they're running short of raw materials, it's easy to make these. And an armoured version. And photographs from the restoration of one. So you can get some really up close photographs of everything. Then we come on to some builds. This is Great Wall Hobby 37mm Flak 43 build. Just going through basically mostly photographic sort of build, then some photos of the finished product. Cargo version of the SWS, and then the finished product. And then an SWS with a 15cm Panzerwerfer 42 on the top. And one with a flak feeling on the top, and some obviously good quality builds, and there you have it. So that is 188 pages, just full of information, and there's all sorts of everything you might possibly need to know is in here somewhere. There's just one photograph, I should have marked it before, but it's right at the end of the war, and it's of an SWS pulling about 3 other vehicles somewhere. Let's see if I can find it for you. It's in here somewhere. Oh well, doesn't matter. But basically what it is it's basically SWS, and they basically designed for towing things, And this one's towing 3 trucks behind it. The trucks obviously are in dilapidated condition, but they're all fully loaded, and the SWS is quite happily dragging them along. So anyway, if you want to build an SWS, this is the only book you're ever going to need to give you all the information you need, all the details to really super detail it. It's available from the publisher's website, the link is under the video, and many thanks to Nuts and Bolts for sending it along for us to have a look at.